Hello, bowling fans. This is Dustin J. Markowitz coming to you live and in living color from the gym along the Colorado River, Laughlin, Nevada, bringing you this special edition of Bowling Evolved, our very first live vodcast here in Laughlin. And I got to say, this is very exciting. We've been waiting for months and months to bring this back, and I want to say a big thank you to all of our fans who have stood by our side, waiting for us to come back, and also to Fred Eisenhammer, keeping the show with stories alive for the last couple of months. But with that being said, as always, I am joined by my partner in crime. He is the 5-time PBA National Champion, 2-time Hall of Famer, and you know what? Just one heck of a nice guy. And may I say, your runner-up in the 2015 Senior U.S. Open, the one, the only, Eric Forkel. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
Wow. Thank you. Awesome. It's about time I finally got an applause for someone I didn't have to pay. Thank you. Thank you. And we're not taped. And you don't say we're taped.
No, it's taped. Weird.
Wow.
I do want to say, since he is popping up, we do have our editor, AJ. AJ, wave to the camera. I know you can't. Go ahead and give yourself a sound effect. He is our silent editor, silent producer from now on the show. So wow. what was the sad sound effect? What was it?
There you go. There you go.
So, AJ, of course, if you have watched our last special, which was the interview with Robert Lawrence, which you can find, of course, on our Bowling Evolve Facebook page or also on our Bowling Evolve YouTube page, he did the beautiful intro that has both Eric and I, and he's been doing a great job, so we want to say thank you very much to AJ. And Eric even made you look really good putting in those clips of your 99 4A outdoors.
Well, you know, sometimes having those clips come in handy. Good to have some clips sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, let's jump right into it. Obviously, it's been quite a while, and the most recent news I can think of is, Eric, you have been making quite a splash back on the PBA Tour. Not only on the Senior PBA Tour, PBA 50, but also you won a regional title a few months ago. And I got to say, how's it feel, partner? How's the body holding up? And how's it feel to be not only a champion again, but to be a televised, quote-unquote, bowler once again on the PBA Tour?
It felt like the 90s all over again. I got to admit, bowling the PBA 50 Tour, all the guys you're bowling against are the guys I used to bowl against in the 90s. So that part's pretty cool. It's like a homecoming. And to bowl well, it's kind of special. Obviously, I had a great week at the U.S. Open. Came up one strike short of winning. But to bowl against the best seniors in the world, I can't ask for anything better. It's very cool. It's an honor, and it was nice that I got a chance to do it again.
Well, I do have to ask, Eric, since obviously it made quite a bit of news. What was the confrontation between you and Pete Weber like?
Well, I mean, you know, Pete gets a little. He gets a little animated when he's bowling, obviously, and he likes a certain amount of courtesies here and there. And sometimes he feels he needs a little bit more than the average person. And, you know, I went to take my ball off the rack, and I was near him, and he didn't like the fact that I reached up there and grabbed my ball to interchange my thumb for shoot the spare, and he got all pissed off and kind of slammed his ball down and made a big incident because he was upset. And I turned around. I didn't know what was going on, and then he said something. He started yelling at me, and you know, we're all in the heat of battle. We're all trying to make a top 5 to get to that TV, or the top 4 actually, to get to the TV show. And you know, it's heated. There's a lot of intensity going on, and he yelled at me, and I yelled right back. I mean, I've known Pete for 25 years. I respect him. I know he's one of the greatest of all time, but you know, we're all professionals out there, and we're all trying to get to that top spot, and I'm not going to back down if he says something that I felt was wrong. And so we had it out, and a couple of colorful words were said. I'll put it to you that way. And colorful is a good word. And you know, he made a comment at the end, and I said something, and we just walked away from each other. And I think it was caught on Extra Frame, had it, and it was. They said it was. People were asking what it was all about. I don't know if they heard the exact words, but they saw us kind of, you know, jawing at each other and basically in each other's face, and it never got to the point where it could have got, you know, physical. Let's say bowlers don't do that. They do that in other sports and other games, but they don't. But bowlers don't do that.
Eric, that would have been great.
It might have been, and I had to, after that whole thing, I had to get up there and shoot the spare, and that was a tough spare to shoot, that 7-pin, but I did make the 7-pin. But it was a lot of anger, and funny, later on that afternoon, I bowled him in a match, and I was fortunate to beat him like 203 to 202. Little did I know, and how it would end up. I would wind up bowling him for the title. That's the irony right there, and it did come down to the 10th frame, and if I would have doubled, or I could have put him away, and I left a 7-pin, and then he needed the first hit in the 10th, and of course, hey, Pete Weber got it, and I became another notch in his championship belt.
AJ, give him the sad sound. Give him the sad sound.
Yeah, that's what it was. So good for Pete. Hey, Pete wins another title, and Eric finishes second again. Wow. There you go. So, but you know what? That's what it was all about. It was great to be in that position again. For myself, it's probably been about 10 years since I've been in anything of like that. So, those guys still bowl out there all the time, and they travel, and they still bowl for a living. I really don't anymore. So to mix it up with those guys and to basically hold my own and lead the tournament, I feel that's a pretty good accomplishment. I really do.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, there's no doubt that everyone that watched you, especially myself, obviously, even though I'm a bowler and I work with you, I'm still a huge fan. It was just so impressive to see you go out there. I mean, you outpaced yourself by, 700 pins on the next closest left-hander, which is just an absolute insane feat, especially in that kind of environment. Partner, I don't care what anyone says, you're still a champion in my eyes.
Well, I appreciate that coming from you. I appreciate it. Obviously, I mean, there's just so many great bowlers on that senior tour. It's a who's who of Hall of Famers. PBA Hall of Famer, USBC Hall of Fame. It's an honor and it's a privilege to bowl against those guys. And when you're really beating them and you basically lead a tournament that they're all competing in, that says a lot. And then of course, they re-oil the lanes. You've got to win it all over again. One-game match, anything can happen. I mean, I had some chances earlier in the match, and I came up a little short, and he had chances. But when it was all said and done, he was able to get up there and throw that strike for the win, and he's done that to about 38 other people at that particular moment, and he did it one more time. But it was pretty cool, and I'll look forward to doing that tournament again next summer because I'm sure they'll be back here in Vegas. And I'm already looking forward to next year because that tournament is a difficult tournament, a difficult lane condition, but I've had a pretty good run on it 3 out of 4 years. So I've had a third, and I've had a second now, so I guess all that's left is that first, so hopefully I get another shot at it next year, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I certainly hope so. Again, it was a lot of fun to watch, and of course, it wouldn't be a Bowling Evolved live cast if something wasn't going wrong. Excuse me for 1 second, as my fan is about to tip over on his cord.
There's always something. Why am I not surprised?
It never ends, and we never cannot have just a normal show. But with that being said, AJ, you're supposed to be on top of these things. What's wrong with you?
You don't pay him enough. You don't pay him enough. Oh, that's right. You don't pay him. Excuse me. You don't pay him. That's right. That's right. You don't pay him. You know what? I understand. That's a sad face right there with a wah wah wah. Sad.
Well, obviously this is still our first foray. I call this episode 1 of the new Bowling Evolved podcast. It's a sort of an episode 0 where ironing out the bugs, but I have to say this is a very fun format. One thing I do want to mention while we're talking about the new format, that in the coming weeks, Eric and I are going to be working with AJ to do this show. As I said, this is a live broadcast, which means we could actually have people in the chat. If you are watching on the, I guess it doesn't really matter, but in my box that I'm looking at on our screen right now, there's a chat box on this side of the window here, and you could actually watch our show, ask us questions while we're on the air. We could actually bring you on with your own webcams to ask questions, and we really hope you guys would want to get involved with that. I know one thing we've actually fielded in the past was more involvement from the bowling community, and I know for a fact, Eric, I'd love to have anyone and everyone to come in and ask us what they want to know.
Well, make it an open forum, make it open to anyone. I guess it could create a lot of interesting conversation, good and bad, of course. It is what it is, you know. Obviously, we all have opinions, and it would be a very opinionated situation for everyone, and sounds good to me. Bring it on.
Absolutely. I love that. We want to keep moving on with the show, though. Again, it's been just one heck of a ride. We've been, gosh, off the air now, what, almost 3 months, Eric?
Yeah, it's been a while. I know we've been trying to put this thing together for a while, and you know, once we get this thing started, and it'll start to pick up a little momentum, and we'll get some cool guests to come on, and we can do some live feeds like this. I mean, there's a who's who of bowlers out there, and people, special people in the industry that we can definitely have on, and I think it'd be awesome. You know, maybe we can do that thing with the ball reviews and talk about new product. We could have somebody on from Brunswick, of course. We could have someone from the different other companies, just to give, you know, it's bowling evolved. You and I are affiliated with Brunswick, but we could still have other people on because everyone's got a good product. Of course, not quite as good as ours, but everyone's got a good product. That's it. That's it. There you go. It is what it is. That's right. That's it. Right there.
I do want to say thank you very much to Brunswick. Obviously, we've had a great endorsement by them. They've tremendous sponsors of both Eric and I individually, and now endorsing the show. Also, I do have a moment here. Also want to say a big thank you to Heat Guard Today. AJ, show them the shirt of Be Cool. Heat Guard Today is providing the office space and the internet connection for our live shows for here in the future. Geez, we've been on the show for about 10 minutes now, and I've already managed to shill just about everyone in the industry. This is... Feels good to be back, Eric.
Oh, just like old times. Nothing's changed.
Well, we do have a few more moments here. I do want to say also to our very own Bowling Evolved staff, there was some news there. Number one, congratulations out to Paula Vidal making another splash out on the PWBA tour. It's good to say that again. Actually having regionals and some women bowling back.
Yeah, you know, the women are going to be getting started pretty soon. I believe their first tournament's going to be up in Sacramento.
Yep.
The new ladies professional bowlers tour. It's pretty cool for them. I mean, they got a lot of new places they're going to be visiting, and it's kind of a weekend situation, I believe. I think it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday they bowl on, and wow, it's good. And then I think they'll have TV as well. So it should be terrific to have the women back on TV.
Absolutely. I know that Paula had done I believe it was a PWBA regional tournament not too long ago, which was really good for her. I think she finished 4th, if I'm not mistaken. And I'd love to have her back on the show to kind of discuss how the new tour is comparing to the old tour. And I'm sure for all the women out there, it's nice just to have something to bowl again.
Oh, of course. They've been waiting for almost, what, over a decade for this. So, yeah, we'll definitely get her back on, and then she could talk about the new ladies tour on how it's going. I believe their first tournament is up in Sacramento. I mean, maybe we can even, if we plan this thing right, since they do bowl on the weekend, maybe we can get a live feed from her on she can do a little play-by-play of what's going on, or there's all kinds of things that can open up that we can do. She could be almost like a correspondent out there, you know. If she's going to be bowling all the events, why not have her do a little correspondence, phone into the show, video vodcast into the show, and she can tell us what's going on out there. That'd be kind of cool.
Absolutely. I also want to say, if for anyone that is wondering about our jump cuts back and forth, we're still kind of hammering out the details with this program. Google Hangouts, not sponsored by Google, because give me the money sound effect, AJ. It's never going to get old, is it, Eric?
No.
But we are still.
There you go. We even have sound effects now. I like the sound effects. Sound effects are cool.
Well, the only reason you think it's cool is because I can do this. Ladies and gentlemen, now entering the talk show, the one, the only, Eric Forkel. Give that man a round of applause. Good delay there, AJ.
There you go. It's pretty good. It's almost, It's almost kind of like the old Howard Stern show. That's what it kind of reminds me of. There you go. See?
Yeah. But again, we are hammering out some of the details, how the system works and the audio and everything. So bear with us. Again, this is sort of our return test episode. It will only get better as we go along. I do promise you that.
I hope so, because I don't want it to get worse.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic of the evening. One thing that has come up that is very interesting, and I know both you and I have chimed in on it, and it is a hot topic. It's not a new topic, is the question of staffers in the bowling industry. And Eric, I see the little smirk on your face.
Well, you know, they've had staffers around for as long as I can remember. I mean, even way before I got involved with the professional bowling, they had staffers in the heck, they might have had it in the 50s, 60s. I know they had it in the 70s. They've always had staffers. It's just they have different positions, meaning they always it was a professional. You were bowling for a living out on tour, so you were on the professional staff. And you know, I don't know if they had so much regional staffers back then and amateur staffers. Well, nowadays with today's grassroots marketing and most of the guys involved with pro shops and media, it's great for the companies to get people signed with their product. And you know, you get the deal. You have to represent them. You must throw their product. You must wear their shirts, and you know, and that way it gives them exposure. And a lot of times it's not that they're paying the people, especially on the regional and the amateur levels. Most of the time they're not getting paid. They get paid with equipment, which is what everybody wants, is bowling balls, shirts, bags, you know, stuff like that. And you're there to represent a company. Because they're doing you the favor, and you're going to do them the favor, and maybe if you're involved in the pro shop, then you're there to help sell their product. Back in the day, this was not as prevalent. I'm going back for myself, like back in the 90s. I know they had pro staffs, but I remember it took a while to get on one. Even after you went out on the pro tour, they just didn't hand you a contract and say, "Here, come out you're on staff." It took time. It just didn't work that way. But once you got on, you know, it was pretty cool. You kind of felt like you belonged, and most of the guys got paid out there. The superstars got paid way more, but you're still getting paid to throw a bowling ball, which is something you love. I mean, kind of a cool way to be getting paid to throw a bowling ball for a living. Then, of course, you get paid by a sponsor, so now you got 2 paychecks coming in, again, just to bowl. I mean, that's really kind of cool. That's living large, if you're a bowler especially. But nowadays it's changed into a lot different. Like I said, they have amateur staffs, they have regional staffers, they have pro shop staff, they have, you know, all the companies do this. Now it's not just one company, pretty much they all do it. And if you're fortunate enough to land a position with any of these, good for you. In some way you deserve it. Whether it's from a performance standpoint, whether it's from a media standpoint, whether it's from a pro shop standpoint. That company feels that they can use you to help promote their product, and they're going to benefit from you, and you're going to benefit from them. So guess what? Everyone benefits from it. That's what it's all about. So that's really what it is, and those who have it, congratulations. Those who don't, I'm sorry. And everyone in between, enjoy the game, and so be it. It is what it is.
Absolutely, and I think one of the big, a little bit of echo there. I think one of the big things that I look at when it comes to staff, I've been very fortunate to be part of 3 tremendous staffs, be it with EBI with Hammer, Motive for 4 years, and Brunswick now. And I think for a lot of bowlers, too, it's a combination of the 3, be it Association of Pro Shop and Bowling Centers, Association of Media, and Association being able to throw the ball. Obviously, some people have an advantage over others. I look at, not to, you know, without naming names, but I definitely know some people in the industry that have staff contracts that are not 250 average bowlers, quote unquote. I also know some guys in the industry that have staff contracts that are 250 average bowlers. But I believe you're 100% correct, Eric. It comes back down to what can you do to promote not only their product, but to promote the sport of bowling, because obviously if you're able to promote the sport, you're able to grow the sport. The more you grow the sport, the more product you sell. And I believe that's really the one thing that, at least in my perspective, has changed as far as what it actually means to be a quote-unquote staff member. And as you had mentioned, I believe in a post on Facebook, you won a national title, 2 national titles, and never got a staff contract.
No, it took a couple of years. Like I said, I won back in '92, and I didn't join Columbia Products until '94. So it took a few years, and obviously I was bowling well. I was competing against the best bowlers in the world, but getting on staff back then was really difficult. And it was an elite situation. A good friend of mine, John Mazza, another PBA champion, he used to bowl out on tour. I remember him telling John Jowdy, "Hey, Jowds, Eric's throwing your stuff. Why don't you get him on staff?" Yeah. And then finally he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So I started with Columbia back in '94. And then that lasted about 5 years. Well, about 4 years. I got a phone call from Bill Chrisman of Storm, who asked me would I be interested in joining this young, fairly new company, staff player. Absolutely. And that's when I went to Storm, and I was fortunate to be there almost 15 and a half years. And then when that thing stopped, I was ever so lucky to be offered a regional deal from Brunswick. And, Nick Smith, which I can't thank enough, he thought I'd be a great addition to have on the Brunswick staff, and here I am. So, I don't bowl for a living anymore, and it's not the same as all those years ago. But being involved with a ball company, and I happen to be in a pro shop, so of course I'm going to push the product. Being able to throw the product, and I can explain to people what the balls are designed to do. It helps. That's that grassroots marketing. I can help sell the product because I use the product, and the product's great. I've had success with the product. I mean, I led the Senior U.S. Open throwing Brunswick. I mean, all the brands got pretty good stuff, but hey, I led the tournament throwing Brunswick stuff. So that should mean something, considering I don't bowl for a living anymore. So that should tell you how good the equipment is, because those guys still bowl for a living, and I led that thing throwing Brunswick. That tells me, yeah, if the average Joe is listening to this, I'd say, hey, that ball is really good, because you got a guy who doesn't bowl for a living anymore. He led all the guys who do bowl for a living. So it says something about their product, and it's an honor and a privilege to still, at this age, be involved with a company, and I'm happy as ever.
And I was going to say, I went through obviously a little bit different way when I was involved with my staffs. I was very fortunate to be offered by Robert Lawrence back in 2007 an advisory contract with Brunswick. I had just taken over as the youngest tournament coordinator here in Laughlin, obviously regional grassroots, as you had mentioned, Eric, and had an opportunity to kind of grow through that. From there, Sean Morris, who a tremendous individual, Sean Morris with Ebonite at the time, I believe he still is with EBI as a matter of fact, at Hammer Rep, had offered me the contract of Hammer. Did that for 2 years and had a great time there. Got to do some innovative stuff with them, including around that time is when we really started seeing a lot more of the online reviews, a lot more ball reviews started becoming more prevalent. Eric, you know what I'm talking about, as things started to change there. And from there, I was offered the opportunity of Motive, which was definitely the epitome of a grassroots company. I was in there basically from the get-go with them, and had 4 wonderful years with the Wilburs, and Brett Spangler took good care of me. I got to do a lot of great things with them, and I got into the bowling journalism side of things, started being able to get my name out there in a lot of different ways, internationally as a journalist, as a RIN journalist, and of course as a broadcast journalist with my one and only Eric Forkel as my partner, having a lot of fun with that going on. Actually, Eric, next month is 3 years for us. Wow. That's
a long time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, like I said, and this thing has evolved, so to speak, now into this Vodcast. So we're finally getting to where it's becoming maybe a little more serious, and we'll see where this thing goes. We'll see what kind of interesting personalities we can have on here. I think people would like to come on and interact and exchange opinions with us, and it'd be great to have some celebrities on here. Maybe we can even get Pete Weber to come on this show, and him and I can discuss that event one more time.
I would love to see that.
I bet you would. I bet you would. I bet you'd love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be great ratings. As I said to you on the phone, it's funny, you're your beautiful wife Shelley had actually texted me after the incident, and I had said to you on the phone that you should have knocked him out because you would have gone down in the history, Eric, as a guy that punched out the lights of Pete Weber at the U.S. Open.
You know, just to jump back to that real quick, in the middle of our little verbal assault, a lot of things did pop through my head, and I'm like, and an extra frame never crossed my mind. I had no idea that those were the pairs that they used for extra frame. We happened to be on those pairs. I had no idea. I was so far from that moment, but that could have been very interesting. But
anyway, I believe that's our 5-minute warning. Just got, gosh, I love this. That was our 5-minute warning from our producer, AJ. We have sound effects, man. This is. But
I will say this. Since that thing, Pete and I are fine. We're good. That moment is long past, and no hard feelings. Just it's just one of those little events, but it's all good. Like I said, I've known Pete forever, and I'm sure I'll see him again, and I'm sure he'll say hello to me, and we'll be great just like we normally are. So it's no problem.
We all have our run-ins in the industry, and for sure it keeps going from one day to another. I did want to also say real fast, obviously, as the show continues going on, I do want to say a big thank you to Kevin. I never can say his last name. Kevin with Brunswick.
Kevin Tabon.
Tabon, thank you. I struggle so much with that. Kevin Tabon with Brunswick for giving me the opportunity to come back. Obviously, to Nick Smith for kind of getting Eric hooked up, which led to me coming back with Brunswick. And, of course, Robert Lawrence, once again, who was the guest while Eric was out back in the field, so to speak, doing what he does best. I do say, Eric, though, Robert does have a darn good head of hair for his age. And you guys are about the same age, right?
It's funny how some people, as they get older, they can maintain that thing called hair. I've gone the Marshall Holman way. Mine has been gone for a long time. Me and Marsh, we both got those big foreheads. What can I tell you? It's low maintenance. It's a low maintenance program, trust me. Very low maintenance. It's funny, I can give you a quick story. Years ago when I first got out on tour, I believe it or not, I had a little bit more hair than this, but not much. I used to bring a comb with me. I did. I had a comb. So one of my roommates would always say, what are you doing with that comb? And he would always give me grief over it. But he's the same person at night before he would go to bed. He would stand in front of the mirror and he would comb his hair. And I would say, why are you combing your hair before you go to bed? And he'd look at me and go, because I can. Okay, I'm glad you can. It still makes no sense. But anyway, that's, I'm glad he could. But, I don't have to worry about the hair brushes anymore. No more combs or anything like that. All gone.
Well, I can get you the little mustache comb. We'll get you the Gresham formula and the little mustache comb. And, as you get into your 70s and 80s, maybe even do like a Van Dyke.
Yes, I may do that. We may do that. I may have to add that into my repertoire. We may go that way.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that wonderful note, that's going to take us into the end of the show again. I want to say thank you so much to everyone that has supported us. There's a few people I do want to thank again. One is Fred Eisenhammer. Eric, Fred is a good friend of yours and mine,
yeah.
The whole show, the bowling community. He has been doing some wonderful stories on our Bowling Evolve page, which when we do get this posted, AJ is going to put the link for our Facebook in the bottom description. And
yeah, Fred's terrific. He came out to Fountain Valley for the next stop. He was out there. He spoke to John Burkett a little bit, the former professional baseball player who now is bowling on the senior tour. And by the way, he's terrific. He throws the ball great.
Very impressive what he does.
Incredibly impressive the way he bowls. And he's having like a second little career out there. Well, it's a fun thing for him. But it's Fred was out in Fountain Valley, California covering. He came out the last day to cover the finals, and he interviewed John, and he loves it, and he's going to continue to write under our logo, so that's very cool.
Yeah, and it's tremendous to have him. I'm so glad to have him on board, and just everything he does, he's kept the site alive. And again, facebook.com/bowlingevolved. You can see, or of course, just go to bowlingevolved.com. We do own that domain for the next decade, so you can always go there to check out all the latest and greatest in the bowling world. Also, don't forget to check out everything that is coming up on our YouTube page. Please like, subscribe, and comment on our channel. We are going to be putting up content constantly over the next year. Ball reviews, shows, special interviews. We might even get those pictures of Eric in a dress. I didn't forget, Eric. I was going to mention that.
Oh, you can't see me. I may have to borrow a John Cena line. You can't see me.
All these great things. A few people I want to name drop. First off, want to say thank you to Richard Wescombe, who also recently got the track regional sponsorship here in Laughlin. So thank you very much, one of our staff members and just a tremendous bowler. The Laughlin's Doug Kent, as Eric so adamantly puts it all the time.
Looks just like the great bowler Doug Kent. Looks just like him.
Also want to say a big thank you to everyone that has supported us, including Miss Tina Cowett, Alan, Westendorf. Gosh, there's so many people out there that have constantly. Brian Hirsch, of course, our good friend Brian, who is part of Bowling Evolved down in Phoenix, and just everyone. Elite Pro Shop, Heidi Frederick, Riverside Lanes, Brian Markowitz, the entire bowling community out there that has continuously given us a reason. All 11 of you that watch our show, and now with AJ at the helm, 14 of you that will watch us every week.
14. We're up to 14. There you go. Wow, we're up to 14. No, we got, you know what, I think we're going to try. I'd like to bring Ryan Schaefer back on. Ryan's always got great comments, got some great personality. He's still involved out there on the Pro Tour. Even though he's getting up there, he's like 47, 48. He's catching up to that senior tour, and of course, when he gets to be 50, he'll go out on that senior tour and be very, very dominant. So we get a lot of people that we can bring on, and we can bring them on like this. I think it'll be way cool. Very, very cool.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, that is the end of the show. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Also, a big thank you to Brunswick for everything that they do for us. Brunswick Bowling, best bowling balls in the world. But ladies and gentlemen,
that's right. They deserve that. No, they got. And by the way, this week is Bowl Expo here in Vegas, so great place to go check out product, all the brands, but especially come out to see the big Brunswick. All three brands: Brunswick, Radical, and DV8. They will be showcasing their products, and everybody gets a chance to come out and check it out.
Absolutely. But for that being said, for Eric Forkel, I've been Dustin J. Markowitz. Thank you for tuning in to our first of many new shows in the future, and have a great night.
Good night.